Welcome! In this video I'm going to demonstrate Radical Tree's command interpreter. The command interpreter is extremely easy to use and allows Radical Tree owners to create their own patterns. While you'll never normally run the light engine without the tree installed, this view of the light engine will allow a good visual representation of the pattern's color and sequencing during a script's development. It's not necessary to do this, but for this video I want to reveal the detail of the light engine zone layout and how these associate to the commands the interpreter supports. If you also want to do this during a script's development, remove the tree from the light engine and carefully stand it into a corner of the room, minimizing the branch refluffing efforts later. And do not attempt to look at the light engine's output without a piece of paper covering the display's light pipe. The LEDs are extremely bright, and you definitely do not want to observe them without a diffuser, such as a piece of paper. For starters, I want to show how the zones are numbered with respect to the light pipe and introduce you to the command interpreter's command set. First, let's create a simple script that reveals all the zones' locations. To create a script, use a simple text editor such as Notepad or WordPad. I have Notepad++ installed, so I'll open it. For simplicity, the interpreter's command set is currently limited to a few basic commands. First, every script must have a begin and end statement and must be in all capital letters. These two statements will define the pattern's begin and end and where the pattern will loop between every cycle. I'll add these commands first. The next command I will add is the load zones command, and I will do this just to confirm all the zones are initialized to a known starting condition, and in this case all being off. Again, this command must be all caps. Think of the load zones command as being global, or taking effect on every zone the same way. Load zones requires parentheses, as this command requires operational parameters or arguments. Load zone's first argument is the value of each zone's red level. Values of 0 to 255 are valid, 0 being off, 255 being maximum brightness. Since I want everything cleared initially, I will use a value of 0 or no red. All arguments require comma separation with no spaces between arguments. The next argument in a load zones command is the magnitude of green. Again, I want this off. The next argument is blue, which I will also assign a value of 0. The last color specified in load zones is the color white. For everything to be clear, it too will be off, or 0. Finally, the last argument in a load zones command is the time of the command's trajectory. Think of this value as being a linear ramp specifying the color transition's duration. A value of 0 is an immediate step. Any number other than 0 is the number of light engine samples or 50 millisecond intervals. 50 millisecond intervals occur 20 times per second, so if a transition of 3 seconds is desired, 3 divided by 0.05 is 60. Since I want this step to occur immediately, I will use a value of 0. So, there we have our first executable command, which will clear every zone immediately. In this script, I want to demonstrate zone orientation, so the next command will be on an individual zone. The zones are numbered 0 through 11, so let's start with zone 0. The load zone command takes one additional argument from load zones, which defines the desired zone. To simplify text entry, let's use copy and paste from the previous command and change this to load zone. Next, the first argument in a load zone command specifies zone number, so let's start with 0. Since I want an immediate transition, I will also leave the trajectory set to 0. Finally, let's choose a color. I can set virtually any achievable color using various magnitudes with combinations of red, green, blue, and white, but to demonstrate zone locations I'll use a value of white, and I'll set it to a relatively dim value of 50. So, our second command will be a value to load zone 0 with an exclusive value of 50 white and with an immediate transition. Next, I'll introduce a new command called delay. Again, all caps. delay does just that and allows no new state transitions for the specified amount of time, which is also in 50 millisecond intervals. It's important to note that colors that are currently on trajectories won't be affected by delay. It's just used to wait for the desired amount of time until the next command is fetched and executed. I'd like to show each zone for 2 seconds. So using a calculator, enter 2 divided by 0.05, and we have 40. So to pause the interpreter sequencing for 2 seconds, we'll use a value of 40. Now we can use copy and paste to quickly construct the remainder of this script while noting we want the next sequential zone on each step. Next zone is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and finally zone 11. So here we have our complete script. It will start by clearing everything into a known initial state. It will then sequentially set each zone to a dim value of white, followed by a 2-second delay. It will continuously loop between the script's begin and end statements until the user desires to run another script or continue with normal built-in patterns. Next, let's save the script to a file with a descriptive name. I'll call it Demo1 and save it to my desktop. Finally, note that all scripts must end in a .s, implying a script file. Also, keep the first part of the file named to 8 characters or less. Once it's saved, copy it into the root directory of a USB jump drive, and then place the jump drive into the light engine's USB interface. Let's watch this script run. I'll enter the service modes by pressing the menu key and select option number 2. If this is the only script within the USB jump drive's root directory, this will be the script run. If multiple scripts exist, pressing the remote skip keys will select between them. As can be seen, the zones sequentially circle the outer portion, then make their way inwards. Now that we know the zone orientation and we've covered the interpreter's command syntax, additional videos will create something a little more presentable. Radical aspirations waives all liabilities resulting in any altered mental states that may arise.